Anand, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation.
Pleasure to be here, thank you.
First question, you are India's first ever Grandmaster. You are what a lot of business leaders would call a category creator. And what a flourishing category. We've got 91 Grandmasters now. Can you talk us through the key inflection points of chess in India?
Probably 1987, when I became a Grandmaster, was the first time the sport caught people's attention, because it's one of these, like the Olympic gold medal or something. It's one of these things that we didn't do for a long time, and then suddenly we did it, and we had our Grandmasters. I guess the World Championship that I won in 2000 must have been the next big step, sort of 1983 for chess and all that. And if we want, again, huge inflection points, I would say the pandemic. The pandemic both gave people a lot of time to follow a lot of chess players. People were sitting at home and trying to think of things to do. But surprisingly, streamers, content creators also discovered chess, whether they came from a comedy angle or I think the idea of presenting chess in a light-hearted way, attracting people who are maybe slightly distant from the game but are curious, and that was another important moment. So in India, this would be people like Samay and Sagar, and abroad, people like Hikaru. One nice offshoot of that is the Tech Mahindra Global Chess League, which roughly overlapped with the pandemic as well. So we played this online chess Olympiad, because the Olympiad had to go online that year. And we won it along with Russia in 2020. And one of the spectators was Mr. Anand Mahindra. He tuned in because a lot of people were saying, it's very entertaining, very dramatic, and there's fun stuff happening around chess. And he came in, and then we started discussing some possible events. His idea was based heavily on his experience with Pro Kabaddi.
Yeah.
So the Pro Kabaddi League, and so they tried to think, well, can we do something like that with chess? And end of that year, they called me, and then they wanted to know if I would join and work towards building that up. And so that was very nice. And then it took a little bit of time to finally get off the board, but in 2023 we had the first edition, 24 the second, and this year is the third. But for me, this is the special year because it's happening in Mumbai. Incidentally, I should mention that Gukesh becoming the second Indian to become a world champion in chess was a very, very big milestone as well.
What convinced you when Mr. Mahindra came to you? Because I'll tell you where I'm coming from. Chess isn't really a team sport, right? It's individual, it's very internal. What convinced you that a league format could work for chess?
Because you're right, chess is very much the sum total of individual games. There is no passing of the ball between team members or something. Each one plays their chess. But I realized the team element could work because I have played in several European leagues. I've played in the Olympiad, which is the World Team Championship, if you like, and or the World Team Championship for countries rather than clubs. And it's always been kind of entertaining. And even though we play our individual boards, the fact that you depend on someone else's board and how that influences you, influences your play. You have to keep track of the state of the match. You're not only playing for yourself. So those elements I had experienced. But what was also becoming evident was if you made the teams a bit more diverse than before. So instead of having men's team, women's team is highly conventional. if you could mix it up a bit, so sometimes have men, women, and juniors in the same team, then you got a lot of drama, a lot of unpredictability, and you got to compare country strengths in a different way. So not just do they have the top 4 men or the top 4 women, but compare different criteria. And by this point, this element of presentation had started to come in. How do you present chess? Because everyone was trying to broadcast chess online, and so chess was getting better and better at that. And people were also getting used to following their apps, the bandwidth. I always say chess would have missed the boat if the pandemic had happened 10 years earlier, because we wouldn't have had the bandwidth to take advantage of it. But in 2020, it was the perfect time.
What is the key difference between, say, players from your generation and the current crop of players like a Gukesh or Prag, many of whom you mentor as well?
I think what has happened within my career span and is we have gone from thinking entirely by ourselves to thinking through computers. And now the amount of computer analysis and learning that happens there makes the two games almost difficult to compare. When I look at games, tournaments played in the 60s or something, it feels to me that was a different sport. This is a different sport. They're still sports and still the same rules, but no, it's just not the same because things have evolved. At the same time, the human element, I mean, the nervousness before a game, all that hasn't changed at all because you still have to do that. And this is a generation, I think most of the top players now have not lived in an era without mobile phones. They have not lived in an era, obviously, without computers. They have not lived in an era without all games being live at all times. So if I were to tell them some story of, I used to wait for 3 weeks for the magazine to arrive by the post. They don't understand what you're talking about. Or the idea that I used to go to an STD booth to call my parents or something. It's alien. And on the chessboard, I think they don't have this old baggage. They don't have this old knowledge. That knowledge was highly imperfect. It was lots of assumptions chess players made based on the sort of material we had, that this is how these things must work, these positions must be played, these pieces must go here, sort of thing. And now they start everything on move one, and they say, there's no rule that this is possible or not. The only question is, can I make it work tactically? If you cannot find a move which shows me why I'm wrong, then I'm right. That's the mentality now, and I think that's how chess is played now. That wasn't the case when I was growing up. I can tell you that. And that wasn't the case for the previous 100 years that chess was being played. So that is one fundamental difference. The game has become so much more computerized, statistical, very high-level analysis and things like that. But hopefully, luckily, I think the sporting element hasn't gone away.
As AI comes into the sport, do you think it's going to be another different sport 10 years on?
It could well be, because what AI will do, I don't know how much more technical knowledge we can squeeze out of this. I mean, there are things to be learned, and by the way, the last 10 or 15 years, we always assume, okay, I can't see how things could get much more different, but they have kept evolving. But the thing is, at some point we'll say, well, these conclusions are probably going to be the same 10 years from now. We're not going to fundamentally disagree. But what will change is the way that people pick up the game. AI will be able to explain to them much better. AI will be almost their coach. What's even more, it can be the coach's assistant, the coach's coach. So the coach will use AI to imagine what lessons they want to give to youngsters. And so the big difference, I think, is the age is going to start dropping even more. I mean, I got a rating at the age of 12 or 13, and that was a good achievement, but nothing earth-shattering. I became a Grandmaster at 18. The youngest then in history was 15. Now there are more than 10 players who are Grandmasters at the age of 12. And recently we saw there's a 3-year-old boy with a rating. I mean, he's played decently with some adults. And somebody asked me, well, how do you place that in chess context? And I said, I have no idea. I have no understanding of what this is. It's like if you told me a baby came out and a baby was discharged from the hospital, and then it said, it explained to me a theorem or something. You know, I couldn't place it in any context. But you know, it could get even younger. Maybe it won't, but we see the broad trend. Now chess players come from every country. More and more countries have top players. And the sport is becoming more diverse by nationality. It's not dominated by one country, which used to be the Soviet Union. Now it's much more diverse. So I think this broadening trend, both expanding the audience, expanding where talent comes from, all that, AI will contribute hugely because it will make the presentation aspect of it much better.
But where does AI intervention end and human intuition begin? Or does it?
It does. AI says a lot of stuff, but I think first of all, the most highly trained humans in a field will ask AI the best questions. Second, they'll know if the AI gives you 40 pieces of advice, the person who's been well trained will be able to discard 35 of them and keep the 5 useful ones. So I think once again we'll see that humans will use AI just like a tool, and some will derive more benefit from it. So it's not enough that the AI gives you a conclusion, it gives you an answer. But whether you can understand the answer, understand the details, because when you play the answer in a game, you'll have to implement it. And to implement it, you need to know the details. So that's really where human talent comes in. At the same time, we can say that the current generation is the strongest technically in history, simply because they've had the benefit of so much artificial intelligence analysis thrown at them. And so the average level is very high and so on. So I think that's where AI will keep growing the game. And second, we think of a sport is not only its hardcore fans, right? It's not only it's also the casual fan. I think because a sport needs much broader base. So in chess, I think AI will help demystify the game for people who may never go much further than 1 or 2 casual games, but know the rules, enjoy the game, and like to dabble in it. In those areas, it's going to be very useful to help spread the message. I mean, there's only so much commentators can do, and AI can do it more often without getting tired, and I think it'll play a huge role there. And it can give a lot of very interesting observations from other perspectives. It can compare, let's say, their heart rates and say, well, you know, the average in the world is something like this, and it can put a lot of things in interesting context, things like that.
We hear a lot of conversation about freestyle chess. I mean, even Magnus is a big endorser of that format. Do you think it's going to overtake the classical format? It's a bit of test versus T20 debate.
Not at all. It's chess 960, or what is sometimes called Fisher random, has been around for, I mean, the concept has been around for last long time. We used to have tournaments in Germany in the 2005, 6, thereabouts. And it's kind of hovered around the horizon. They're trying this alternate circuit, but for the moment, I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, at the moment, chess is very much, or chess is actually number 518 out of these 960 positions that you can use. So just slightly. I don't think it's going to replace chess yet. Chess is in fact growing very strongly, not only in classical chess, but also the other formats. But on the other hand, you never know what catches on, and you've got to be open to ideas. So in fact, I recently competed in a 960 event against Kasparov in St. Louis. St. Louis has been having, which is a very famous chess club, they've been doing a lot of 960 events for many years before this, and that's where it is.
Right. And only one Indian in Candidates 2026. Is that a bit of a disappointment for you?
Well, think about it this way. Out of the 3 players who were representing India in the previous candidates, one doesn't need to play the candidates because he's above it. So in a sense, that's 2 people above the candidates level. It's just he's waiting on the other side of the river, if you like. And second, the number of girls is increased to 3 from 2. Divya Deshmukh is the new addition, and I'll take it. Obviously, you know, if we had one more Indian, that would be nice. But I think it's still a very exciting tournament, and given the fact that we are guaranteed one Indian in the World Championship, that's pretty decent.
Last question. Of course, you're playing for a team in the chess league, but suppose you were an independent candidate and you were to pick one current chess player in your team, who would that be and why?
I have been very impressed with Vincent Keimer, and I don't even have to pick him. He is in my team.
Yes, correct.
And the winner of the recent World Cup in Goa is also in my team. So we got
You've got the best team.
We got some very good guys there.
On that note, thank you so much for this conversation. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you.